out and away we
Bing bang!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Paddock Talk podcast. As always, I am Kyle,
And I'm Scott.
and we're going to start this episode by getting into the qualifying. You know what? Actually, Scott, how are you doing?
Not so bad. Good, and you?
I'm good, man.
Good,
yeah,
good.
we're gonna. No, go ahead.
I was gonna just say, didn't I call the opening or the front row, the gridlock out? By the way,
Yeah, you
in
did.
our last episode.
You did.
I mean, technicalities rule, but I still called it.
Yeah,
But
who did I have second? I can't even remember, but it was way off. My podium
you
wasn't
not
even
write-
close.
do you not write notes down? This is what notes are for, sir.
No, I have them down. I just can't find them.
Do I need to start writing your notes down? I'll have to start writing your notes down, won't I?
But yeah, we'll get into qualifying first. What did you think of qualifying?
You know what? It wasn't too bad. I was at work, so I was kind of catching a little bit here and there, and I try to time my lunch break right just so I can watch going into Q3. I mean, nothing too spectacular. Logan Sargent never set a time in that Williams because it's a Williams. Lando Norris started 19th, Nick DeVries 18th, Alex Albon 17th, Yuki Tsunoda 16th. It kind of your the guys who you thought were going to be out in Q1. Nothing really popped in mind. But when we get to Q2, oh boy. Yeah, Max Verstappen, a hand grenade, a gearbox, and qualified 15th. That was the big, I don't know. I would say my second big news of qualifying. Because you had the two Alfa Romeos, Bottas in 14th, and then you had Kevin Magnussen starting 13th, Zhou Guanyu 12th, and then Nico Hulkenberg 11th. Everybody looks where they're supposed to be besides that lone Red Bull. What'd you think when watching qualifying?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Really surprising to see that McLaren make it into Q2.
Q3.
Q3,
sir.
sorry, yeah. But no, Piastri, he's actually been, I don't know, he's been impressing me a little bit in the really shitty McLaren. So
Yeah, that thing's a freaking dump truck in orange. It really is.
yeah, Lando hasn't had any momentum this year from that car. Any success?
No, it's a good
nothing.
Yeah, it's a good thing he signed that long-term deal to stay with McLaren because they're really showing their pace.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll finish the top 10 up. Pierre Gasly actually set some lap times and started 10th. Oscar Piastri, as Kyle mentioned, started 9th. Hamilton 8th, Ocon 7th, Stroll 6th, Carlos Sainz 5th, George Russell 4th, Fernando Alonso 3rd, Charles Leclerc 2nd, and Checo Perez in 1st. And if you remember, I picked Perez and Alonso to be to starting 1 and 2. So Charles' second place doesn't really count because he had that grid penalty. So I called it. I am a legend.
So,
but what'd you think about Q3? What'd you think about it?
Yeah, it was good. You know, all the regular faces there, besides Piastri, obviously. But yeah, Max, man, I don't know what happened. Like what was it with the gearbox exactly?
I don't know, but it was. I just remember I had my phone in my pocket, I had my earpiece in my ear, and I just hear. It just sounded like somebody it could have been Checo. Have we even seen if he maybe threw something into the gearbox to maybe sabotage Max?
No. Honestly, I think Red Bull's trying to sabotage Checo.
Yeah, definitely the way the race was panning out, that kind of felt like it a tad.
Yeah.
So I guess we should just probably get into the race. Unless you had anything else to add about quali.
No, not really.
Because there's definitely much to talk about the race.
Yeah, I'd rather get into the race. Let's do that.
I'll let you lead it off, good sir.
Yeah, so I guess no, we'll start with Checo, yeah. So good start from Alonso. He gets past and we'll talk about that shortly, right? But
Oh yeah,
he retake
big
like
time.
yeah, Checo retakes the lead on lap 4 and just sails through the rest of the race after that. But
Uh,
no, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, again, at work because until this podcast starts making some money to where I can do this full time. Man, gotta pay the bill somehow. But
Hmm.
I'm sitting there at work and I hear Crofty go, and it's lights out, and away we go. And I hear, it's a slow start from Checo Perez, Alonso into turn one. And man, like I'm just sitting there screaming at work, go, 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 L plan. And like I was jacked, man. Like
Hmm.
that going into turn one, that dive bomb, and him leading that lap, I was screaming. I'm like, oh yeah, there we go. The old goat's doing it.
Yeah, it was such an
And
exciting. No, go ahead.
then yeah, and then you get the 5 second penalty for uh grid position failure.
Yeah, let's start it with
Oh,
that because like
um,
I know he's not ahead of the line, but why are you gonna call that? Like it looked like he's like a foot to the left. But still, I know you have to be in
yeah,
between the grid positions, but it's like he's not. I guess maybe if he didn't take the lead right after that turn, maybe they don't call that. I don't know.
I don't know. It wasn't an advantage. Like watching it back when I got home, there there was no advantage given. It wasn't like it wasn't like he was a foot in front of the line. It's not
Hmm.
like he was angled like Ocon was
Yeah.
the previous race. It was he was just to the left of the box. And I know rules are rules, and it looks like the FIA are obviously calling every little thing now. But there's got to be some give and take. Like if it's not past that right line, that hash mark line, like just try to I don't know, don't try to be so nitpicky on it.
Hmm.
And then we'll get with the nitpicky later too.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But no, you're right, man. Checo like flew. He was gone. He was um yeah, as soon as he overtook the Aston Martin, I mean Alonso tried to keep up, but
hmm
that's just like no, it yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, Checo was
he
gone.
he just sailed after that up until Max battled all the way from 15th up into second. And then they started to go over the Red Bull radios about what the strategy was going to be. They were telling Checo to slow down, and then he started questioning the Red Bull radio, and it's like which side are they playing here? Max or
Yeah,
Checo?
because they were telling him to do 133s, and they were telling him that Max was doing what was it like 132 fives, 132 sixes, and he's like, why are you telling me to slow down, him to speed up?
Hmm.
And then it's just like the same question over, and it's like, oh, okay, you can race, you're fine. Like I don't understand it. I didn't get that either. But
Hmm. Yep. Okay, so we'll move into
you gotta love you gotta love or the family squabbles of the Red Bull
yeah.
drama factory.
So yeah, so and then Fernando ended up finishing third and then fourth and then third again. So we'll get into that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Fernando ends up getting a 10-second penalty because he doesn't serve his 5-second penalty properly, just like Esteban got in Bahrain. Not exactly how he got it, but the Aston Martin mechanic had the what was it, front jack or rear jack under the car
He
too early?
the rear jack was under the car
Yeah.
because the front jack is allowed to touch the car to guide it into the pit stall.
Hmm. And again, which like is the FIA setting this timer when the car enters the pit, or is Aston Martin? Because from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like they're on the right clock or the same clock timing these
So
penalties.
it's so I think it's as soon as the car is stopped, they have that 5 seconds, but it's not the FIA that times it. well, I mean, they time it, but like Aston Martin crew times it and then goes, and then the FIA is like, was this really 5 seconds? And then they'll go behind and double check because like with Ocon, they knew within a few laps, like, yeah, you touched the car, man, you got to come back in or suffer another penalty,
Yeah, and
which they didn't do for another hour, hour and a, they didn't call that for another hour.
yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. So they didn't they didn't give him the penalty until after the race.
So like the last like few laps, they kept saying George to push to get within 5 seconds because they said Alonso may have a penalty, but they didn't allude to it.
Hmm.
And then they kind of alluded to it a little bit after the race, saying that they were looking into him not serving the penalty correctly.
Yeah,
But
and
can we go back to a safety car that brought him into the pits anyway? Did you not get certain feel of Crashgate 2008? Uh, coincidentally, with Fernando Alonso and his teammate, like they were talking about the whole penalty. He's got to come in, serve it. Man, he's got to serve it under safety cars, and he's screwed. And then I hear on the coverage, and Lance Stroll's having an issue, and he's pulled off. Oh, there could be a safety car here where he's pulled off, and lo and behold, he gets a safety car.
it should not have been a safety car.
No, it shouldn't have. It really shouldn't
I
have.
don't think it
When I
should have
looked at the
even been a
replay,
virtual safety car.
I guess with the marshals kind of sort of being on track, it doesn't hurt to have it under a virtual safety car, but
Mhm.
like, I'm sorry, I was like, oh man,
Yeah, I
I,
get like
I
you.
just,
I watched the replay and Lance, like as soon as they tell Lance to slow down, he pulls off and goes around like he's completely out of the way.
yeah, yeah. The only clip I show, yeah, he's pretty much off the track.
Hmm.
Like he found the one spot off the track to pull off.
Yeah.
Um, but like, yeah, it just seemed so coincidental at the end of the end of the tire strategy stop that Lance's car had a engine malfunction. But
Hmm.
that's just me. That's just me being a conspiracy theorist. Like that's just me. But yeah, but going back to the penalty. So Alonso gets the podium celebration. By the way, his 100th podium celebration
Hmm.
in his career. Sixth driver to ever do that. Not a big deal. And then what? 10, 15 minutes later after the podium celebration, they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You didn't serve the penalty correctly, so we're gonna give it to George." And then how long? Like how long was it until they actually fixed it?
It had to be 45 minutes at least, I think. 45 minutes to an hour.
At least.
Hmm. Aston
So
Martin, like they went to fight it. They showed the FIA 7 different instances of teams committing the same violation and not being penalized for it.
yeah, so apparently in the rule book, it states that the jack is the only thing allowed to touch the car, um, because it because the front jack guides the car in, but there's no verbiage in the rule book that says the front jack is the only thing that's allowed to touch the car entering the pit stall during a penalty. So the verbiage says the jack is allowed.
You know
So
what's
Aston
also
Martin's crew got to the FIA and said, "Hey, like it doesn't say. Where does it say front jack? It doesn't say front jack." So, and then they got lucky, and the FIA said, "You know what? We're going to give it to them." But that rule is going to be changed by Australia. You know it.
Yeah, they're not even allowed to touch the car.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to get to the point where they're going to have to be like clear cut rules. I know we talked about that the other day,
Hmm.
where like they're just going to make it to where you can't even go past the yellow line, like the pit box line. Like all the crew's gonna have to stand behind that, besides maybe the front jack man to to stop the car. Like they're just gonna have to do that. Then at 5 seconds, then run to their positions. If we keep getting stuff like this.
I, I also think it's a little fishy. Like when the FIA gave him the penalty, or they explained why it was so late, they said they didn't have access to the camera angle that showed the jack touching the car, which just doesn't make sense to me. Because because they don't show camera angles on purpose when there's a bad crash, because they don't want anything bad to be seen, obviously, right? They have way
Yeah,
more camera angles than we have. So them saying that I just see right through that. I didn't believe that for a second.
yeah, the stewards and anybody, like, just like in the NHL, if there's any hockey fans, if there's a replay or anything, it goes straight to the headquarters, and then the headquarters watches the replays. You're trying to tell me that the stewards who are going to be over the race don't have this footage, and anybody FIA headquarters aren't watching that footage? Like, there's not a guy designated to that job that says that looks through and scrutinizes any bit of this footage. Come on, I can't believe that.
You wanna hear the little conspiracy theory that's turning in my head?
Oh, go for it, dude.
So
I'm all for it.
I think they ignored that. Like they probably knew it happened and they were just like, whatever. And then later in the race, when Mercedes told George to start pushing because there might be a penalty incoming, I think Mercedes is the one that broke down the Zapruder film or whatever it's called, found that tiny camera angle of the jack touching the car. Mercedes and Toto, whoever it was, sent it to the FIA and they're like, you have to call this a penalty because it happened last race. The FIA jumped the gun, fired the penalty bullet at Alonso, and then Aston Martin refutes it and they get it called
Dude,
back.
I
It's just
love that.
they're
I,
making a
I
joke
love
of
that analogy.
the FIA is just making a joke of themselves. Like Mercedes was trying to get a podium, they're trying to get points because their car's shit. They just zoomed in on the jack as close as they could, and they're like, FIA, you gotta call this. And they did, and they were wrong.
Toto's in the garage area. Enhance,
Yeah,
enhance,
yeah,
enhance.
literally.
And over the microphone, no, Michael, no, Michael, that's not right. That's not right. And everybody's like, dude, freaking Michael's gone. You got him fired. I dude, that's a good conspiracy theory. I can get behind that. Like I can totally see that. Like the stewards are like loo 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 loo, drinking their Red Bull or whatever, like non-biased drink in their little air-conditioned office, and then they hear Alonso may have a penalty for not serving the pit stop correctly. They just spit their beverage out. Wait, did they see something we didn't? Somebody pull the cameras! Pull the cameras!
Yeah.
But the thing that really just irritates me is it was the guy's 100th podium. It was a milestone podium, and he got jerked around
He already
on
celebrated.
it.
He already celebrated.
he was he was already on the frickin' podium. I'm trying to be nice and not use the F word on this, but he's on the frickin' podium. And then 15, 20 minutes later, you're like, snag my trophy, giving it to George.
Yeah, I can only imagine how awkward it was for George Russell to go and take the trophy, give a bunch of interviews, and then go and give it back.
It's gotta be deflating. Like, that could be the only, like, Mercedes got their first and probably only podium taken away this year.
Yeah. Do you want to move into Ferrari?
What's there to really talk about, man? Like, Ferrari was pretty,
Just the big note of
as
mine
as the kids
was,
say these days, ass.
yeah, the big note of mine was just on the, again, with the safety car when they didn't tell Charles to keep the right gap and he got mad. Zavi, you have to tell me.
Oh yeah. You know what? We probably, speaking of, let's kind of just run through the finishing order real fast.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Sorry, not to cut you off,
No, 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 you're good.
but finishing 20th was Lance Stroll, 19th Alex Albon, both of those DNFs. Valtteri Bottas was the only car one lap down, 18th.
Mm,
Lando Norris in 17th. Logan Sargent 16th, Oscar Piastri 15th, Nick DeVries 14th, Joe Guan Yu 13th, Nico Hülkenberg 12th, and Yuki Tsunoda in 11th.
Yeah, and then all the drivers in the points consisted of Kevin Magnussen in 10th, Gasly, who stayed in 9th, Esteban Ocon, who dropped to 8th, Charles, who gained up into 7th, Carlos Sainz in 6th, Lewis Hamilton in 5th, George Russell in 4th, and then 3rd, and then 4th again, Fernando in 3rd,
Mm,
and then 4th, and then 3rd again, and then Max Verstappen in 2nd, and Checo Perez as your Jeddah winner.
the Street King. Um, but yeah, the Ferraris were where they were supposed to be. Like 6th, 7th, they're fighting Mercedes right now for third.
Yeah, yeah.
Because until proven otherwise, the Aston Martin is far superior on these more downforcey fast tracks. Now, when they get to tracks like Spa and Monza, maybe Ferrari will be able to show their true pace, but shit, who knows? They could be fifth in the constructors by then.
Yeah, I agree.
But to me, it just wasn't one of the like Jeddah. The first two races, well, barring the whole, terrorist bombing taking place a couple of miles from the track uh, during the first race, it was kind of like an uneventful race.
Yeah.
Besides the lap one shenanigans, and then the safety car towards lap 20,
Hmm.
like there were a couple nice little races, like when Logan Sargent went on a heater and was trying to fight for 12th and 13th on medium tires against guys on hard tires. That was pretty entertaining because it was nice seeing the Williams punch above its weight class, and then the mediums fell off, and he ended up where he ended up in 16th.
Yeah. And the only thing talking about Mercedes again, the only thing I really remember Lewis for the entire race was just making Max look like a fucking sorry, F-bomb, rocket
Whoa!
ship.
Whoa!
He made Max look like a rocket ship when he was going up into second. And he even said it, and he just can't stop talking about how bad that Mercedes car is.
And how good the Red Bull is, because that's all he talked about was how good. Like it's one of the fastest cars he's ever seen. It's one of the fastest cars anybody's ever seen. Like
Yeah.
it's. I like how the competition gap like has closed with these new cars from the regulations from last year. But nobody told Red Bull it was supposed to close the gap between everybody. And like 2 through 10 has closed in quite a bit. But like Red Bull is just way in a league of their own. And it's, it's great, but it's also like, oh, great. Now we got to deal with the Mercedes shit from the mid 2000 teens to 2 years ago,
Hmm.
where they're the class of the field.
Yeah. Maybe Red Bull's increase their catering budget for this year.
Yeah, they're gonna have to. Like, yeah, I mean, hell, by halfway, the shit's done. Constructors will be done. The drivers champion. Well, when I say drivers championship, the other drivers now between Checo and Max is another story. But hell, by halfway, they can stop doing some of the upgrades and just focus on catering. Maybe bump it up a couple mil.
Well, that's how
Shit,
they
I mean,
exceeded the cap last year.
yeah. I mean, shit. It's the way it's looking like because as of right now, the constructors' points, it's Red Bull has 87 constructor points. Next
Wow.
is in second place is 38 points between Aston Martin and Mercedes. Like they're already 49 points to the good. Like they're already 49 points above second place. And we're already in race 2. Only in race 2.
Yeah, and that gap would have been closer, but Lance didn't finish, so Mercedes has to be counting their stars for that one.
Oh yeah, because Lance had I mean, the Aston Martin is a good car, and Lance has been pretty punchy. Like, if it wasn't for that quote unquote engine failure, I mean, he could have probably settled into sixth or seventh.
Hmm.
Any other takeaways from the race
No,
that
I
you
think
noticed?
no, I think that was about it. Yeah, just a bit of action at the front, but no, nothing too crazy.
The one thing I hated seeing was Piastri taking front wing damage on lap one and really, really screwing up his great qualifying effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, as somebody who roots for Haas, you get used to that with Kevin Magnussen. He always has a great qualifying effort and then ends up really shitting the bed and really screwing something up on lap one
Hmm.
and getting one of those standard 15th place finishes.
Oof.
Yeah, that's all I had for the race. How about some random factoids from the race?
Yeah.
This is the first time that Checo Perez has won a race while Max Verstappen finished in second place behind him.
Really?
I yeah, I I seen that stat. I was like, that's granted. Checo's only got 5 wins, but I'm sitting there in my head like, wait, Monaco? No, Max was back a little bit. No, yeah, that's right. No, because Max I'm like, huh, holy shit,
Hmm.
that's right. Normally when you think of Checo winning, it's Max maybe had a slight screw up and then finished either second or third, but that's kind of strange. And speaking on the Max Verstappen line, it is his 79th career podium at Jeddah, which puts him one short away from the great Ayrton Senna's career total. Ayrton Senna had 80 career podiums in a 10-year career, and Max is only 25, going on 26 at the end of the year.
Wow, dude. It's such greatness we're seeing.
Yeah, we're witnessing the next Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton.
Hmm. Yeah, speaking of Ayrton Senna, we may as well transition into the Netflix miniseries they're doing on his life.
Yes, sir. That was when looking through some of the notes. That was pretty intriguing. I definitely something I'd be willing to watch.
Hmm. Yeah, so I have it right here. Gabriel Leone, I think is how you pronounce his name. I don't know much about him, but he's going to be playing Ayrton Senna in the miniseries called Senna, I believe.
I
So
mean, might as well call it Senna.
yeah, so I'm excited for that because being a newer F1 fan, I don't know too much about him. I just know obviously how good he was, and yeah, great career cut short.
Extremely. Let me see. I had a. Uh, it's supposed to cover pretty much his life. Oops, sorry, hit the mic. Pretty much cover his life going to England to start his racing career up until his tragic death
Okay.
in the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix.
Hmm.
So yeah, the guy looks like because they have a photo of him on F1.com, cheap plug, with him holding a Senna helmet. And I mean, Senna just had that kind of air of confidence around him, but this kid, I don't know, put a couple little worry wrinkles on him. He's got a good resemblance to Senna.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll
Uh,
just going on that, I'll take this quote from this Netflix thing here. It says Gabriel Leone has Senna's charisma, intensity, and gentlessness. So, yeah,
nice.
again with you. Yeah, he's going to be a perfect play for Senna, I believe.
And with Netflix, I was talking with somebody or actually today about this, because I was informing them about this little mini series with F1 getting a big U.S. market push, and with the popularity of Drive to Survive on the streaming platform, with this mini series, kind of because we've already seen some more F1 content. I probably should have phrased this better. Drive to Survive. We've seen this Michael Schumacher documentary come out last year that was pretty good. Now you have this Ayrton Senna miniseries coming out. It doesn't give a approximate time, but I'm sure if they're just casting, it's probably a good 2 years out, a year to 2 years out. Could we see more like almost docu-series like this with other drivers, maybe like Alain Prost, Michael Schumacher, where they kind of cover their life? Because I'd be down. Like Netflix, shut up and take my money.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, you just mentioning that now, actually, because we've had Drive to Survive, obviously. Feel like that's the first like real big piece of content that's swept North America. Like it feels like F1 hasn't even gone Hollywood yet. We could get so many movies, so many series out of this.
Yeah, with the big with Netflix pretty much having the streaming rights to anything F1, it seems. I mean, why not just throw in and just do like little miniseries, like almost docu-series instead of like documentaries? Man, 3-4 episodes on a Jacques Villeneuve, or a 2 to 3 episode little docu-series eh, on the Alain Prost, or Nicky Lauda, guys like that, Jody Scheckter, maybe guys like going back in the '60s, a Clark, a Graham Hill, a Jackie Stewart. Like
Hmm.
that's content I'd like to see. Like I wish I saw on more on F1 TV,
Hmm.
but with Netflix, man, I'd love to see stuff like that. Maybe like little docu series like on how guys made it into F1.
I want a six-part series on Nico Rosberg beating Lewis Hamilton in 2016 in equal machinery.
Yeah, still the best thing ever. Like from what I've heard, it was Equal Machinery. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe we need to get Nico Rosberg on the pod to discuss this.
I'll DM
Nico,
him.
buddy, I know you're listening. Please come on the pod and discuss if this is actually true.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't true. We'll leave that for him to tell.
Dun dun dun. Well, do you have anything else to add? Because I think
Uh,
that's all I have on my little notes. Unless you got anything else to add.
no, that was everything I had on Jeddah. Um, Excited for Melbourne. Australians do it great. It'll be
Yes,
nice to see
sir.
Piastri. Hopefully, Danny Rick makes an appearance. Oh, obviously he's Red Bull's reserve driver. He'll be there, but like a big
Yeah, so he's
appearance,
got
like a big appearance.
so he's got to be there. Oh, speaking of, I know I sent you the video of. So I recently found this guy to our millions of listeners out there. Connor Moore is a guy who does impressions. He's an Irish guy. Spot on impressionist for F1 guys. Carlos Sainz. Uh, I like his Verstappen, but like his evil Danny Rick. Like, what if this is the season where Danny Rick just tries to like get Max injured so he takes over the car? The old Max got food poisoning. How'd he get food poisoning? Did Danny Rick send him some food? Was it tainted with something? Hmm? Hmm? Hmm?
We need a shoey.
Conspiracy theory?
We need a shoey.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, if Checo keeps smarting off to the man, I mean, he might get Das Boot, and we might get a Red Bull shoey once more.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, I did have one quick thing to add. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since we were on the Alonso tire pump, since Alonso led the opening lap of the Jeddah Corniche Grand Prix, that was the first time in 11 years he has led the opening lap. The last time was in Germany in 2012. So over 11 years was the last time he led an opening lap.
Oh my goodness, McLaren and Renault. What did they do to him? I meant Alpine, but and Ferrari. Oh my goodness.
They destroyed him, man. They literally destroyed him.
He might race
But
till he's 60.
yeah, no. His girlfriend. I know we were trying to get the pod off, uh, but there was a little article with his girlfriend talking about. They asked her how long she thinks Alonso has, and she said that this is probably his last contract with Aston Martin because the amount of effort he has put in, like working out, training, is the most she's ever seen him like prepare for an F1 season, that she thinks that this is it. Like he is full tilt into these 2 years, and then right off in the sunset at what 45, 44.
Hmm. Well,
I
it's
don't
nice
see
to
it.
see that he's in a competitive car, at least if this is the end.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Hmm. But this will be the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening.
Whoa.
I've been Kyle.
Nice segue, dude. And I've been Scott.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Paddock Talk. Don't forget to like and share the episode, and check us out at Paddock Talk on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Discord.